great. Good morning. I'm Reverend Karyl. Before I start the talk, I just want to notice that the first two rows are empty, and except for Marilyn, who's the practitioner. And I thought about that, and you know what it is? It's Bob Plath. Because Bob Plath, who passed away, he was a beloved member of our community and worldwide famous for creating the International Forgiveness Alliance. He used to sit in the front row, and people would sort of fight to be near him. And so his space is available. And you do not have to fill his shoes to sit in the first two rows. So is that, Bob, that's so sweet. Oh. So, well, thank you, Reverend Judith. You're sitting with Bob. All right, very good. I would like to welcome all of you this morning, especially people who are here for the very first time, or who are newish and do not have our newcomers pamphlet. So if you would just raise your hand, we can acknowledge you with applause and then give you this information and then greet you after the service. That's all we'll ask. People here for the first time, there's one, there's another one. Yay, and bunches, great. Thank you. And welcome. We hope that you feel that you have come home, that you've come home to a place you've never been before, as it says in the John Denver song. So you are here at the Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living, where our vision is awakening personal transformation, and our mission is teaching tools for positive change. So that's what we're about, and you are here doing that with us. Right up there is what you're here about and what I'm here about. So we are the second Sunday into 2016, and for the very first time in the history of our movement is coming together to do these things, to participate together in personal transformation and to offer tools for positive change in a uniform way, because for the first time we have a theme that ministers around the world have chosen to adopt as theirs, and this is it. The global vision, a world that works for everyone. And so there are more than 150 centers worldwide that have this as their theme for the year. And so if you travel and choose to go to another center for spiritual living, you'll get something along the lines of what we're doing. And I say something because what we are offered are themes for each week, but every single center gets to interpret that in their own way, thank goodness, because I could never use someone else's notes. And every single center has ancillary programs that you'll hear about today and then ongoing. So this is our handout for the entire year. On one side, it has the essay by our founder, Ernest Holmes, called What We Believe, and on the other side are points about the global vision, what we actually see as a world that works for everyone. So we're going to be referring to this throughout the year. So you don't get to pick one up every single Sunday, okay? So if you have one at home and you have one in your hand, maybe two's enough. You can put them on your refrigerator, one this way and one this way, okay? So we will have them every single week, but we want you to look at them and maybe even bring them with you. So what I did last week was I talked about that general theme, a world that works for everyone, and the points were these. It's an idea whose time has come. It is possible. It is a world that works for everyone is a world that will work for you. And then the very important one, well, they're all important, they're all essential, but a world that works for everyone requires change. Because as we look out, there's inequality. And there are people that don't have it as wonderful as we have in the things in their life or in the consciousness that they project. So we are about healing ourselves, and by healing ourselves, we will work to heal the world. So this is the theme for today, which is the world is ripe for healing. And by healing, what I mean is restoring everything to its natural state of well-being. So 2 days ago, I was making dinner with my family, and I was washing the citrus juicer, and it broke in my hands, and I cut myself pretty good. I could look into my finger, which is always disturbing. But, I put some Neosporin on it and a nice tight bandage, and it is restoring itself to its perfect fingerness. It's healing. I didn't do anything except protect it a little. That's all I did, and healing is happening. So that's a message for us for the healing of the world. If we kind of just take our hands off of it and just protect things a little bit, then things become harmonious, balanced, supported, and supportive for the good of all and the harm of none. That's the way it works. That's the way it works. So I was the one that did the altar today because we're doing that little ritual workshop very short after service. You're all welcome because we need some more people on the altar team. But this is about it's about healing. It's about healing the world, the globe there, all lit up with light. The healing heart is at the top. And since it is still the holly and ivy time because it's cold and holly and ivy are blooming together, I brought an old bouquet from Christmas. It's still great, and holly and the ivy represents the balance of the masculine and feminine in the world, which would do a real lot for healing. And then we've got the angel looking over everything. We've got light emerging from the heavens and from the earth, and then I'll tell you about the broken pot a little bit later. But this is an altar about healing. So the healed state is actually this principle right here on what we believe, and I'm going to throw it up on the screen here, and that is we believe the ultimate goal of life to be a complete emancipation from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. That's the healed state. Now when you look at that, you think, oh, that's so nice. However, the pathway to that healing of discord of every nature might not be exactly what we think. We think if we just affirm that long enough, things could snap into a healed state. That's unlikely. Because it's unlikely that it would snap. It could if everyone had an adjustment of consciousness. Not even everybody. I think it's like 10%, 5%. If enough people flipped over into the consciousness of a healed state, our planet would regulate itself and follow that consciousness. But what happens is that it is done unto us as we believe collectively, and collectively there is still a belief in discord. That's what I meant when I said last week that we need to change some things. And so we need to change the belief in discord in order for discord to be emancipated from every single life. So I'm going to suggest another quote. This is a quote that was in the outline for this talk sent out from home office. This is a quote that is found on page 107 in the textbook, and it's a very important quote, and it's going to be the basis of what we do. And that is, the world is beginning to realize that it has learned all it should through suffering and pain. This is a statement that longtime religious scientists absolutely love. We absolutely love it because we realize it's truth. And when we find ourselves in suffering, we say to ourselves, oh, I could have another thought, and my experience would be transformed immediately. However, for someone who comes to this philosophy brand new, and they see that quote, I imagine it could cause them to get upset, angry, that they could say, it would, instead of a suggestion that healing is possible, it could be interpreted, because I've been in places where I have been really pissed off at that comment from Ernest Holmes on page 107. I say to myself, well, so I'm suffering, so I'm a spiritual slug? Is that it? Or I have been in this situation where I say, well, that person seems to be suffering. I wonder what happened in their consciousness. And so that statement can be used for separation, and it can be used for healing. And so when we have something as juicy as this, I want to go deeper. So it makes sense that if love is the universal healer, which it is, that we could just go to love and suffering would be old-fashioned. It would just not be a part of us. However, this is a little simplistic, I think, for most of us. Now, again, some people, and I've seen them, they have come through these doors and they go, oh my God, I can forgive instantly? Oh, okay. You mean I don't have to suffer anymore? It's all up to me. I can just think that life is going to work for me, and it will. Oh, okay. And they can do that. They can shift instantly. However, most of us use the pain in our lives productively once we get on the path. And this is the story about the broken pot. So there was a monk who lived in a little shack. And he had no electricity and no running water. And he had one of those poles that went across his shoulders that held 2 pots, one on each side. And he had to walk to the river to get the water. And every day he would walk to the river and get 2 potfuls of water. But one of the pots was cracked. And so when he got home, he really only had 1 pot of water. And that's the pot that he used for that day. Then the next day he would go to the river again, get 2 pots of water. He would come home and have 1 pot of water when he got home. Well, the cracked pot, felt awful. And it said to the monk, I feel so bad that I am imperfect. I feel so badly that you have to fill me up at the river, and then I'm just no good by the time you get me home. But the monk said, look down the lane. What do you see? On one side of the lane was a row of flowers. And so the monk said to the pot, if you were not perfect in the way that you are, we would not have the flowers, because you are the one that waters the flowers every single day. And so the point is that when we use our brokenness as a gift, which if that's the first time you're hearing it, it might seem odd, but it is absolutely possible. Our brokenness, when used well, becomes a gift for us and everyone else when we don't resist it, when we accept it, and when we look for the blessings. So that's the complexity of suffering. Because imagine how long that pot suffered before it talked to the monk. So we're going to look deeper into suffering and see if there is a discernible path to personal transformation. Okay? All right, here we are. We suffer because of 2 main reasons. Now, you might not like either one of these reasons. And before I start, there's another quote that makes me mad, and that is that pain is assured, but suffering is optional. And it's, you know, it gives suffering a bad name, and we feel deficient if we can't just let go of the pain right away. It's not in our makeup, some of us. And so I want you to throw that one out too, and think with me about the 2 reasons that we suffer. The first reason that we suffer is because we place ourselves in the victim role. And this can make people mad too, because they say, well, no, I understand about victim. I'm not a victim, but they are doing this and this and this and this. So when we feel at the effect of our life and good seems impossible, we are in the victim role, and we can remove ourselves, but we have to recognize that we're there. So that we're going to go deeper into that. But the second reason that we suffer is because of our oneness. And that is when we see someone else suffering and we don't think that we can do anything about it, and we feel connected to that. Just any of you who have had children and they have suffered because of decisions that they have made, it breaks your heart. It breaks your heart because it's their life, and you are one with them. You know, it's like the definition of parenthood is someone is running around in the world with a piece of your heart. That's it. And I know that people who haven't had children feel the same way about people in their own lives. So these are the two reasons that we suffer. And so now we're going to go deeper into this. We're going to look at victimhood. So let's say something happens. Something happens and you complain about it. The basic complaint is things are bad. That's a universal complaint, right? Things are bad. Then you come to a full stop. And you sit there with things are very bad. That is the creative genius of creating more of that bad stuff in your life. Because you just sit there. Things are bad. That's a creative thought. You don't go any further than that. Things are bad, and you keep complaining, and you come up with maybe the next thing is, there is a problem, but I'm not a part of it. That's a really good stuck one. There's a problem, but I'm not a part of it. And so you move into this place of powerlessness, that there is nothing that you can do to affect change, and you get stuck, and nothing will change in your mind, except it might get worse. Okay? So that's a real powerless situation. And then it can get so that it's like holding a heavy suitcase for a long time, and your hand goes numb. That's what you go numb on this suffering, and you just ignore it. You ignore it, and then it really, really stays in place. And you can think of situations in your own life or in the world. You can think of something in the world where it just seems bad. There doesn't seem to be any way of getting it better. Well, I think I'll go have a donut. You know, that really is the basis of a lot of addiction. Things are bad. I can't do a thing about it. I'm going to go, shop, or the addiction of your choice. That really brings us misery. This is the real suffering. Things are really bad and cannot improve. That is the victim place. And if anybody is there today, we're going to get you out of it. You're going to get you out of it if you choose. Remember I said something happens and then we complain about it? Right there is a choice. Let's go to the other one, to oneness. Let's say something happens and we do not look away. It feels awful, but we feel it. And because we are a part of a world that works for everyone, or so we are creating, we look to these things on this side, a world that works for everyone. These are the things that I look to when I observe suffering in the world or in my family. A world that works for everyone is where we live as one global family. There's no us and them. There's no me and them. It's all us. A world that works for everybody is where unity and connection is emphasized. So if something bad happens, it's not separate from me. I'm connected. I maybe not know how exactly I'm connected, but I am, because it's happening in my world and I'm observing it and I'm feeling it. A world that works for everyone is where we are called to conscious social action. You might be called to do something. We're going to have several things in this community that you can do. A world that works for everyone is where people have enough food, home, and a sense of belonging. That's exactly why we participate in the REST program, because we make food for people. And a world that works for everyone is where there is peace, harmony, and justice for all, and where communities are meaningfully involved in service to the world. So I look at that, I look at those things, and my heart is literally tenderized. It feels like I am feeling into the suffering of the world, and I am not saying there is nothing that can be done. I am knowing that as I feel a part of all of it, and I ask for divine guidance about what can be done, the very least I can do is shed my love, because I am in connection with everyone else. So if I connect to my own pain and to that of others and do not look away, something miraculous happens. Because essentially I am saying there is a problem, and I am a part of it because it is in my world. I am connected to this. I will not look away. I either helped create it or I allow it, and I will not look away. So, and this doesn't mean that you need to participate in every single social action. But if you do not kind of barricade yourself from the world's suffering, something wonderful will happen. And what will happen is that you take some responsibility for it, and you may choose to do something to alleviate the suffering, or at the very least, and it's not least, I shouldn't say, I wrote that in my notes, but it's not least, it's very powerful. It is taking the suffering into your own heart and showering it with love. Like this woman in the wheelchair here. She probably aches. She probably gets cold. She probably doesn't have enough access to showers. And to just take that into my heart and recognize the love that she is sharing with that kitty, and the love that I can share with her, whether I speak to her or not. What we're talking about is an ancient magical practice. It's the ancient magical practice of alchemy. Alchemy in the chemistry world is taking base metals like iron or coal and changing them into gold. It is said there were magicians in the Middle Ages that can do this. I have searched some. I have not found the recipe yet. But it speaks to something that every single one of us can do. And that is to take our own base feelings of competition and comparison and maybe hatred or anger, and change them in our own heart to love. We all know how to do that. We're going to do it in our spiritual practice at the end of this, but we all know how to do it anyway. You can, you know how to do it. And if you just remind yourself that you know how to do it, then you can take any suffering that you see and you can take it into your heart and you can cloak it and change it with your own love. Then what happens is you breathe out love, you exude love, you speak love, you act love. That is what all of the masters did. That's the key to everything, is taking the suffering of the world into your heart and giving out love. That's it. That is the spiritual action that is needed on this earth, and every single master has mastered it, and every single religion teaches it if you go to the mystic realm of that religion. And I'm just telling you, that's what we all need to do, and that's what I'm working on. I'm working on this. Good. So I have a story that's very close to my heart because it is in this book by Thich Nhat Hanh called Peace is Every Step. And this is the inspiration, not particularly this story, but the Thich Nhat Hanh teaching is the inspiration that Bodhi used to give us his song that we'll sing at the end of the service, Peace is Every Step. So this is the story about the Thai pirates and the boat people. There are many young girls, boat people, who are raped by sea pirates. Even though the United Nations and many countries try to help the government of Thailand prevent that kind of piracy, sea pirates continue to inflict much suffering on the refugees. One day, we received a letter telling us about a young girl on a small boat who was raped by a Thai pirate. She was only 12, and she jumped into the ocean and drowned herself. When you first learn of something like that, you get angry at the pirate. You naturally take the side of the girl. As you look more deeply, you will see it differently. If you take the side of the little girl, that is easy. You only have to take a gun and shoot the pirate. But we cannot do that. In my meditation, I saw that if I had been born in the village of the pirate and raised in the same conditions as he was, there is a great likelihood I would become a pirate. Can we look at each other and recognize ourselves in each other? And that is the lesson of Peace is Every Step, to see everyone as one of us, and to take our own suffering and their suffering into our heart and transform it into love. And when that happens, the suffering becomes compassion, connection, welcoming, availability, openness, and we leave no one out, especially don't leave yourself out of that great love. So coming back to the spiritual principles that we are talking about today, the first one is, for every hurt, healing is possible, and that healing always happens with love. And that is the second principle. Love is the universal healer. So one of the things that we're doing this year in support of our theme is, instead of the going deeper thing, we are doing a spiritual practice every single week. And in order to encourage you to do these spiritual practices, I'll just pull it up. This is our spiritual practice today: embrace an aspect of suffering and transform it in your own healing heart. So we'll have 52 practices, and if you do half of them, if you do 26, you're going to get something really nice at the end of the year. Now, the way that we know you're doing them is that you're going to fill out one of these cards. Now, these cards are imperfect this morning because they don't have a place for your name. That's really important. They are at the back table. They will always be at the back table. And this is what you do. You say, like this, and this card is specifically for last week. Practice number 1. Commit to a permanent change for the good of the global vision and start practicing it. So then you write your name and you say, what did you do? And how is this practice going for you? And then are you willing to have Reverend Karyl share this? Because this is going to be a source of great inspiration. You are going to be a great inspiration for all of us. So like last week, in support of this, commit to a permanent change for the good of the global vision, I said I was going to start paying my bills online. And so I went to my bank and I said, teach me how to pay my bills online. And so they said to bring them some bills, and they would. So I pay my bills on Monday. So Monday I'm going to take a stack of bills, and I'm going to go to Wells Fargo, and they're going to teach me how to do my bills online. So I get to fill out one of these. You fill them out as you do them and put them in the offering basket, or if the offering basket has passed you by already, just leave them on a table and they will get to the office, okay? So that's how we do spiritual practice. So your spiritual practice for today is right up here. Embrace an aspect of suffering and transform it in your own healing heart. And so these practices are things that you keep on doing. We're going to do this in the practice in just a minute after I conclude. But these are things that you do ongoingly. So it's not just one time, because you got to get that habit. That's the whole purpose of spiritual practice, is to create new habits. So in conclusion, my Facebook gift to you today is that Gandhi never did say, be the change you want to see. He said something like it, but deeper. This is what Gandhi said. We but mirror the world. All the tendencies present in the outer world are to be found in the world of our body. If we could change ourselves, the tendencies in the world would also change. As a man changes his own nature, so does the attitude of the world change towards him. This is the mystery supreme. A wonderful thing it is, and the source of our happiness. We need not wait to see what others do. So this is the means of healing ourselves and healing the world and creating a world that works for everyone. And we are about it. We are doing that. So, okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. I now invite you within. Oh, what a wonderful thing it is to be able to go to love instantly. And let's all do that. Let's all just breathe through our heart and remember someone or something that we deeply love. We deeply love a parent. We deeply love a child. We deeply love a friend. We deeply love a pet. We deeply love a mate. We deeply love the rain. We deeply love the hills and the valleys, the mountains and the seas. We love the winter, the spring, the summer, and the fall. We love the way our faces look to each other in candlelight. Something has come to you now that you deeply love. Let that sit in your heart and focus on that. Just look down into your heart at that object or experience of love and let it be the only thing you experience. Let it become so powerful that you aren't aware of anything about your surroundings, only my voice and that which you love, deeply love. Feeling it expand, feeling it warm your soul, feeling it healing places that you don't even have to look at. But as we focus on this love, we do then allow one thing that is painful to us into our awareness as well. And maybe it's right out in front of us. Maybe it's a newscast. Or maybe it's an argument we had. Or maybe it is a regret that we have. Maybe it is a confusion that we have. And it is painful. It's right out in front of us. But then at the same time, we remember the love in our heart. And we go back and we breathe in that love for a moment or two, fortifying ourselves, remembering how good it feels to be in love. And then we invite that painful scene into this soft warmth of the love within us. Into the depths of our being, we accept this human occurrence on earth. And we let the love in our heart just mold around it. Maybe it changes color or form. It was prickly and now it's getting soft. And pretty soon the pain just dissolves. And all we have to breathe out is more love. And so it is. Amen.